This is Show Me Leads in our Marketo Foundation training series. Today, we will be covering the form creation process within Marketo. We will go over a brief introduction on the use of forms, basic skills and foundations, and a bit more advanced options that you will have within the editor. So, forms are mainly used for things such as event registrations, collateral downloads, email subscriptions, progressive profiling. It allows you to capture more and more information about your leads and build out a user profile that sales will be able to address. So, to get started, you will create the form in either Marketing Activities or the Design Studio. I already have a program created, so I make sure I have my program selected, and I want to create a new local asset. And to edit the form, simply select your form and then navigate to Edit Form. And this opens up a new window, which is the Marketo Form Editor. Now you can add more fields with the plus sign and select them from the drop-down menu. You can drag and drop the fields up, down, left, right to achieve the format which you want. Now, when you select a field, what you have on the right-hand side are form properties. Now this includes the label, which is the field label displayed that the user will see, the field to which the data will be mapped to, the field type, and you can select from checkbox, checkboxes, currency, date, email, hidden, number, radio buttons, select, slider, telephone, text, text area, and URL. You can also set the label width, the width that will be allocated for the field label, which the user sees. If set to 0 pixels, it will be hidden. And I will explain why you would want to do that shortly. You can change the field width, which is the width that is allocated for the area which users can enter their information. The instructions, which are visible if the user scrolls over that field. There's also hint text, which is text that is displayed when no data is entered. So, if you set the field, the label width to 0, typically you would include hint text that the user will see so they know what information to enter there. You can set a default value that will be submitted if no data is entered by the user, or a validation message, which is a pop-up message if the incorrect field value is entered or required field is missing. You can also set the max length, which is the maximum number of characters that can be entered for a field. Below properties are the field behavior. You can check is required so that leads will not be allowed to submit the form without entering a value for that field. You can enable the form prefill so that existing data for that particular field, for that particular lead, will be displayed. If no data exists, it will stay empty. You can also mask the input for a field. For instance, you could provide a format such as date or telephone number, which will allow the user to understand the format in which you want it to be entered. Visibility rules, which allows user to dynamically toggle the visibility of a field based on particular rules that are defined at the form level. So, the following field types allow users to input values which leads can select one or multiple values from. We have the checkbox, checkboxes, and select. Now this is key for reporting. Limiting the variations which a lead can enter as values allows for better reporting because values are then standardized. You want to make sure you use the same values for different forms. Good fields to standardize include, but are not limited to, job category, state, country, project type, etc. Hidden fields are never displayed to leads. Now, hidden fields are very useful for reporting and tracking on sources. Typically, the following fields are always captured, such as lead source or lead source most recent. Now, lead source would have blocked updates, but lead source most recent would continuously be updated so that you would have the latest lead source for that lead. You want to make sure values are standardized for reporting. That'll make your life way easier. For hidden fields, values can be captured from the following sources. You can use the default value, which you will set, and it would be the same each time that form is submitted. A URL parameter, which would be captured from the dynamic URL that your lead would click through. The cookie value, or the refer parameter. So, I begin by navigating to marketing activities where I already have a program created that I would like to add a new local asset to. And I will select form. And I will give it a name, which it will be known by within Marketo. And then select create. And now we are taken to the Marketo editor. So here we see several things. We see all the different fields that are currently there. And I can add a field, as I mentioned earlier, by selecting the plus sign. And there's several fields that you can add. I'll also add job category and company name to use as my examples. And we see that you can drag and drop all the fields very simply, and this is how they are to be displayed when a lead sees them or visits the landing page. So, I will begin by adding the hint text, removing the field label, and setting the label width to 0. And this is what you get. And I will do the same for all of my fields to keep it consistent. Now for job category, after I complete what I'm doing right now, I will show you how to create a drop-down list from which users have to pick from. Now this improves data standardization because users are limited to entering values that you have provided. Unfortunately, in Marketo, this is one of the only methods to have a pick list. And I will make these fields required so that users have to provide a value if they want to submit the form. So I select the field type to select, and I can edit the values by selecting the edit option, and now I can enter the values that I want users to choose from. So in the center column is the display value, and that's what the user sees. And the stored value is what gets stored in the database. Now, these don't always have to be the same. For instance, you could have a date written out as the display value, and the stored value would just be numeric. This is all up to your discretion, and you simply save it. And we see that the initial value is select, so I want to change that to job category so leads know that that's what that field is. You can allow multiple selections. I'll leave that unchecked, and I'll make job category and company name required. You can also edit the button by selecting it and changing the properties on the right-hand side. You can also edit the button style from any one of these options. I'll pick this one and select Save. And now I will show you how to add a hidden field. So I want lead source to be captured, so I select the field type as hidden so that users can't see it. You can enable form prefill and edit the autofill. So I will give this form submission, and it can either be default value, URL parameter, or cookie value, and select Save. When you select Next, you are taken to the settings, and first you have to set a form theme if you want to. Now, to change the display of the form, Marketo has 7 different form themes, including Simple, Inset, Glow, Round, Dark, Shadow, Plain, and any custom styling or design of the forms is done at the CSS level of landing page templates. Now, in the next section, the general settings, you can set the language, which sets the language of the form locale. If it is an international form, this setting adjusts the date and time to the location of when the form is submitted. You can enable progressive profiling, which I will demonstrate shortly. The label position, which allows you to display the label on the left or above the text area which the leads enter their information. The font family, the font size, if they are a known visitor, allows users to determine what the known user sees. Social form fill, which allows users to fill out the form based on their social media information. The thank you page, which allows users to determine the follow-up page that leads will be taken to after submitting the form. And now to progressive profiling. To set up progressive profiling, you simply select that option and click Enabled. Then when you go back to the field details, you see this box appear. Now you have to drag these fields one by one into this box. Unfortunately, because Marketo would not know how to prioritize them otherwise, you cannot create a 2-column progressive profiling form within this editor. So, one by one, I add all the fields, and once I have them added there, I can click on the progressive profiling box, and I can set the number of fields that I want to be blank each time. So now 2 fields will be blank each time a user comes and visits this form. And then I go to Finish, Approve and Close, and you have a form that is ready to be used on a landing page. And that is all. Thank you.